Good morning. My name is Matias Miranda Galaz, and this is my oral defense about online learning and its effects on high school students' motivation and acquisition. As I said, my name is Matias Miranda Galaz, and my advisor teacher is Sandra Victoria María Ángel Quinteros. I am currently part of the School of English Pedagogy from Universidad de Talca, and I'm also currently part of the high school program of English teaching in Linares campus. But first, let's show the presentation summary. First, we have the acknowledgements, then the introduction, then the statement of the problem, then the research questions, then the research contexts, then the research aims, general and specific, then the literature review, then the methods, then the type of study, then the research design, then the participants, then the instruments, then the procedures, then the conclusion, then the reference, and finally, the further questions. Now let's begin with the topics, and the first one is the acknowledgements. Well, I would like to thank you 5 people for all the things that they have done and they are doing for me nowadays. First of all, I would like to thank my parents for all the things and all the support that they gave me and they give me currently, not just personally as a son, but also professionally as a future English teacher. Moving on with my professional life or colleagues, I would like to thank 3 people from the university. I would like to thank you, Sandra María Ángel, for all the things that you taught me during this time regarding research. I always say that we have to be a very complete person to be a proper professional. One thing in this career is the English. Other thing is our teaching skills. But other thing that is very important is our research skills. And I'm pretty sure that what I am today regarding my research skills is thanks to you. And in addition, I would like to thank 2 other professors from the program. I would like to thank to Mauricio Vélez for all the things that he taught me too, because basically on 3rd year, he was the first teacher ever that he made me understand the basics of the research. And in addition, I would like to thank Claudio Cárdenas, other professor from our program, for being constantly teaching me all the aspects of the qualitative and quantitative methods and mixed methods in addition. So thank you very much. Well, regarding the introduction, the topic that we are going to research about it is online learning and its effect on high school students, considering the impact that online learning will have on motivation and performance. For performance, we mean English performance with English skill and English acquisition. The purpose of this study is mainly to analyze the data gathered and realize about the real impact of the problem. So basically, what we are trying to say right here is to explain that the purpose of this study is to realize about the real impact that online learning is having on this student and how we are going to see it going through the impact that has on motivation and in performance. And regarding the scope and setting of this study, well, we are going to use high school students from a state-run school from Colbún, state-run that also in Spanish is called Liceo because it's only of high school levels, from all the region and from Chile, of course. Well, now let's talk about the statement of the problem. The problem here basically is, as you can see in the slide, the online learning and its impact on high school students in many terms, like motivation or performance. Because of COVID-19, English classes are more challenging to follow for high school students from home for reasons like the pace or the rhythm that English lessons are having during pandemic times. Well, basically, English classes since the beginning of the pandemic has no middle point in terms of speed, and they are being very fast or very slow, which means a decrease on the effectiveness on these classes itself, and also have other impacts like the motivation or the performance overall in English, like speaking or writing or listening or reading. And yeah, regarding the research questions concerning the problem statement presented in the previous section and regarding the revised literature, the following research questions proposed are the following, as you can see there. The first one is, to what extent do online learning impact high school student motivation in English classes? And the second one, to what extent does online learning impact high school students' language acquisition on English classes compared to face-to-face classes? And regarding the approaches, we can say that the primary approach right here is to measure the students' learning while they are being taught virtually. Why? Because first of all, the primary purpose of this study is to make some sort of follow-up of the students while learning online from home, using face-to-face classes as a comparative model. For face-to-face, I mean like the proper classes that we all have as a society before 2020, March 2020, right? So that means from 2019, 2018, and so on. In addition, because of sanitary conditions that our country is living, many of our cities has a restricted movement inside the same. So that means that in the worst case that we are facing a total lockdown, that is also called like phase or phase one, well, basically, there are high probabilities to develop all this project and this research in a virtual way too. So that's the main approaches. Also is to use as many students from the same school. Hopefully, we are going to use students from the school in which we are developing our practicum periods. So we got like the booking part already done. All right. And yeah, we also want to consider two class groups. In one part, we want to consider a first year of high school, or in other part, we want to use a second year of high school. And that means that we are going to have around 60 to 70 students approximately as an individuals to investigate. Well, regarding the research aims of objectives, we have generals and specific objectives. The first one, the generals, is basically to investigate and study the impact that online classes has on these high school students regarding their motivation while they study and attend online sessions. And the specific objectives, we have to determine the impact on English skills and English performance. That means in use of English or in the four main skills of English that are listening, speaking, writing, and reading. Well, regarding the literature review, basically what we did was to search on reliable sources about many of the resources that there is on the internet or some books regarding these topics. Because of the topic itself, the majority of the topics were available online and not physically as a book. So that was the first impression that we have. But as I said, it was because of the topic of COVID-19 that it was a topic in which is so fresh in terms of time. It is from last year, and since then we cannot like go out, and many of the libraries are not available in terms of create a book about the topic. So yeah, basically we found information from the internet, from reliable sources, and the relevance of these findings are very interesting for our research, basically because sorry, we tend to use all of this literature review as a model for the research that we are doing nowadays. And in addition, because we can find some answers, like pre-answers to the main concerns that we have for our own research. And I think that one of the frameworks could be that while we read about the author's literature review, we can find some interesting information that we can apply in our works, or we can search for some other philosophy of work in which we can understand if we are doing the work in a proper or in an improper way. Well, regarding the type of study, I decided to use a mixed method model in which we have the half of quantitative research method, and in the other hand, we have qualitative research method. Why do I pick this? Basically, because as I already said many times during this presentation, I will have to be able to gather data using several instruments, and many of them are qualitative, like this service in which we can rate the student's opinion from 1 to 10, or with the score records, or also we can use quantitative resources or instruments like the virtual interview, in which they can add their own points of view and their own thoughts. So basically that's the main reason, because I think that it's more than useful, is necessary to use both materials, you know, and give both approaches. Regarding the research design, we will use a non-experimental design for this study. First of all, because we will not experiment with a known group, you know. The members of this study will be students from specific courses. They will not be randomly assigned. With this, we cannot manipulate any variables, so we are going to gather the data, analyze it, and describe it. The explanation is that we already know the school, the grade levels, the students, and the mentor teacher that we will work with. Now, let's talk about the variables. As you can see, there are 3 variables in the slides. Those are the most important and the most related with the entire research process. The first one, as you can see, is motivation. Motivation is the most important variable here, because basically the main approach to demonstrating this research is that motivation is the feeling or the aspect that is affected the most because of online learning and its effects on the daily usage. Then we have academic performance. Academic performance is other variables, because basically the main thing here is that with a low level of motivation, there's an improper academic performance. And finally, language acquisition, because all of these factors affect directly with language acquisition, creating an environment in which the acquisition of the second language, of English as a second language or foreign language, it's much more slower and difficult than before, or before pandemic times. Regarding the concept of independent and dependent variables, we have as an independent variable the virtual or online learning. Meanwhile, the dependent variable is the impact of motivation on high school students and language acquisition and academic performance. Well, regarding the participants, we would like to use two groups. First of all, these groups will be from an state-run school from Colbún. Colbún is the rural area or the rural town of Linares. Also in Spanish, this state-run school will be called as Liceo. Basically, we would like to use two groups, as I said. The first one to use a first year of high school and then a second year of high school. The quantity of participants will be around 60 to 75 students in total. And hopefully we are going to be working with the entire groups. Regarding their characteristics, as I said a few minutes ago, they are the majority of them from Colbún, which is a rural area. So they are from the countryside in the majority. And for the same reasons, they have the same lifestyles, the same social backgrounds, and the same issues and pros. In addition, they will have around 14 to 16 or 17 years old. Well, now let's talk about the instruments. As you can see in the slides, there's all the instruments that we are going to use or we try to use. First of all, we would like to use a questionnaire. This questionnaire, because of COVID-19 pandemic, will be a virtual one, all right, thanks to Google. And it will be a qualitative instrument. Why? It will be qualitative because basically in this questionnaire, the idea is to ask the students open-ended questions in which there's no rating scale or there's no yes or no questions. In these questions, they will have to think and they will have to give or type in their computers their thoughts about all of this process, if they feel motivated or whatever. So that's the idea. It's qualitative, so the idea is to let them write their own opinions or ideas or points of view. So basically, the main goal here is to gather data, but not score them or giving a rating scale. It's just to understand and take conclusions using all of these opinions. Then we have the surveys. This will be quantitative because the idea is to give them a survey in which they will have some questions with a rating scale from 1 to 10, in which, for example, I don't know, the idea is to ask them how much motivated do you feel in comparison to the same date, July of 2021, but in 2019, for example. And that's the idea, to gather data with scores and take conclusions and realize and take conclusions with the results. Then we would like to use attendance and marks or grades records. Those will be quantitative, of course, and the idea is to check basically if there is some sort of differences in terms of attendance or in terms of grades taken by the students, comparing pre-COVID times with COVID times. Well, the first two instruments are easy to create because we can make it by myself, and the other two they are not too easy because we need to request this info to the school, to the local school, but I have a lot of contacts with themselves, so it's pretty easy to take them. But as I said before, the first two are easier because basically I can do it by my own. Regarding reliability and validity, Basically, the idea is to get as much data as possible. With these two first instruments, the questionnaires and the survey, we can get as much info as possible. So as much info there are, much reliable and valid it's all of those informations. And regarding the other two instruments, the attendance and grades records, I'm pretty sure that all of them will be reliable and valid by themselves, basically because it is info that will be given by the liceo or the high school, and those marks and attendance records has some legal background, so it's literally 100% reliable and valid. Well, now let's talk about the procedures. Well, steps to design this study. Well, basically the first step, that I made was basically to search on reliable sources for information. All right, because of the main topic here, that is the impact of online learning on high school students, there's no too much information about it, since it's a new topic for everyone and even for researchers. But I already found a lot of information, useful and reliable information, to get started and design my study. And then basically I gave a known follow-up of what to do according to the models given during the semester, and how to collect data, basically identifying the problem and collecting the respective data. No, basically the problem right here will be that our students, we can see them not very interested or motivated, and then with the sources or with other instruments like the attendance or the marks records, as I said before, there will be proper instruments to collect data and to identify the problem, or how big or how serious is this problem. Well, concluding with this research, we can say that as a conclusion or as future projections that we have are some possible findings, that we can find in the future. Findings such as to realize the real or proper impact that the online learning will have on high school students, and in these students specifically. So basically, the main conclusions are to have the real impact with several data that online learning is having on all of these high school students. And finally, the references. Well, there are a lot of them, but I wanted to add them all. So let's begin. There they are. And now let's talk about the references. Well, as you can see, there are many, but I wanted to add them all. So let's begin. Regarding the references, we have sources from Aguilera, from Cherry, from Dowon, from Dawson, from Grosjean, from Ibarre, from Kumar, that we saw in classes, from Kumar as well, from Marilena, from McCambus, from Meter, from Mullet, from Rio, from Sailkind, from Savnauer, from Wu, and from Justina. And now let's talk about the questions. I know that because of COVID-19, this part of the presentation is a little bit different in comparison to times before pandemic, but anyway, here we go. Question number 1. According to the literature review you made around your topic, how is online learning affecting students' academic achievement and motivation in Chile? Well, even though my study is about just one high school and not regarding all the schools of this country, I'm pretty sure that the results that I will get in the future will be the same or very similar to the results that I will have it in a hypothetical situation in other schools from other parts of the country. But regarding the question, online learning is affecting students basically regarding academic achievement with low marks. And apart from low marks, they have to do much more work, and all of these works are not reflected in the marks. And regarding motivation, well, this is the main factor right here. Basically, online learning is effective motivation in the majority all the students in Chile, and not just high school students, also with elementary students and with students like me, for example, of university programs. But yeah, it is affecting a lot, and the reasons are a variety of them. First of all, because they are at home, they are not hanging out, because they are not with their peers, with their classmates, joking, laughing, or basically studying. Nowadays, with the pandemic, the students have realized that even studying is a very good panorama at the school and not at home. But yeah, it is affecting academic achievement. And concluding with the motivation topic, I will say that in addition, all of this lack or low levels of motivation creating all the students feelings of sadness, of anxiety, of stress. And those feelings are reflected in all the marks that they are having. And the second question says, which aspects of your research design will allow you to control the effect of the extraneous variables, like social, cultural level of students, teaching methods used by teachers, among others, on the dependent variable that is academic achievement and motivation on English lessons? Well, basically, the main aspect that will allow me to control the effect of the extraneous variables is that, fortunately, I will have the same school for the entire research. And that means that I will have surely the same group of students, the same teacher, and all of these people, the students, had the same teacher for years, the same classmates, and so on. So basically, I think that the main aspect of my research design that will allow me to control the effect of these variables will be that my students are the same for the entire research. My mentor teacher will be the same, and the main aspect here is that my school will be the same. And that was my oral defense. Thank you very much to everyone who is listening to me, but in special to you, Sandra Mariangel, for listening to me. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you very soon. Good morning.